This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, today we're going to talk about the law of polarity out of the fundamental laws of the universe. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I'm Deborah Colleen Rose, and the basic definition of polarity is diametrical opposition, complete opposites. The law of polarity states that all things under the universal laws has its own polar opposite. Yin yang is just one good example. And one of the comments that came to my mind is it seems to be restating some of the same things that we're also going to be discussing in the future under the law of gender. So stay tuned. That's some interesting points. Everything in the universe has its opposite. You have a right and left side to your body, a front and a back. Even everyone has an up and a down. The law of polarity not only states that everything has an opposite, it is equal in its opposition. So within every failure, there's a potential for success. I really like that. So it goes back to, I didn't fail, I just learned. So you'd be surprised how much you have in common with someone that's completely different from you, just from that perspective. Everything in life has equal opposite. It is up to us as to what side of this pole we want to experience. Let me repeat that another way. I would actually say it's up to us to challenge and then decide for ourselves what side of this pole we will choose to experience. Do I want to fail or do I want to succeed? Without one, we would not have the other. If we did not experience sadness, we would not know enough to experience joy. Without pain, we would not have pleasure. These polarities or polar opposites all work together for the greater good. We need only to understand this and also learn to appreciate it. Mastering the law of polarity is necessary in achieving the sense of harmony, fulfillment, and well-being that you were born to experience in your life. A life experience absent of the law of polarity would deny you the ability to have this wonderfully fulfilled life. The law of polarity was created and exists as a means to enable each of us to explore and experience life to the fullest. As an example, if what you perceive as bad did not exist, would you even know you were having a good experience? Talk about blasé. If poverty did not exist, would you know what it's like to experience wealth? If failure did not exist, would you know what it is to experience success? If there existed no such thing as death, we could not fully enjoy and appreciate what it means to experience life. We can suppress and transfer undesirable thoughts by concentrating on the opposite pole. It is the law of mental vibrations. One of the quotes in our book that I really like is from Laura K. Hamilton. She's a horror fiction writer that I personally enjoy. She says there's no light without dark, no good without evil, no male without female, no right without wrong. That nothing can exist if its direct opposite does not also exist. So I really like that. We do live in a world of duality. However, these opposites have no absolutes. There's not one point where you can say one starts and the other begins. It is a scale range. There are two poles or opposite. The difference between the two extremes of one thing is called polarity. There are degrees of difference between the extremes or poles, no absolutes. This law states that in fact, these opposites are simply different manifestations of the same thing. Napoleon Hill, author of the classic Think and Grow Rich, wrote, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit." Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled. There's no good or bad, no big or small. My intuition tells me that some of you are still resisting this. Go back and read it again or listen to this again in a few days. Law of polarity is saying that these things are the same, just on opposite sides of the spectrum. So Sharon made a comment that the example she likes to use is a quarter. You can flip the quarter and see the head, or you can flip it and see the tail. Regardless, it's still a quarter. It is all how we perceive them. So in essence, everything you experience can be put into perspective. What is a lesson and what is a positive takeaway I can embrace? Mastery of the law of polarity requires learning how to maintain balance, focus, detachment from the distractions of the material world. The law of polarity contains a full spectrum of possibility ranging from the extremely light to the extremely dark and any number of points in between. By developing this understanding and learning to fully accept and surrender to the circumstances, excuse me, and surrender to whatever may show up in your life in the way of events, conditions, and circumstances, and learning to understand that all things, regardless of how perceived, work together for good, you will have made incredible progress in your given ability to mold, shape, and achieve a quality of life that you consciously desire to experience. The law of polarity exists as a means for you to learn what within every perceived problem also lies its solution. Sometimes the solution to any problem is the problem itself. It requires us to look beyond the present moment, the present situation, to see the bigger picture, and then to see the solution. You do have a choice to experience whichever end of the spectrum of polarity that you choose to experience. This goes hand in hand with prosperity. If you're experiencing what you perceive as unpleasant circumstances, you only need to change what is causing those circumstances within yourself. Do you see the possibilities if you change your perspective? Will you change your perspective? Can you change your perspective? So we have on opposite polar ends, love and fear. The initiative expression of love is knowledge, seeking truth. The initiative expression of fear is ignorance, refusal of the truth. The internal expression is the internal monarchy, who we are and how we regulate ourselves. The internal expression of fear is confusion. Of love, the external expression is freedom. Of fear, the external expression is control. With love, our general expression or manifestation is order or good, and with fear, it's chaos or evil. The good news is that through discovery and correct implementation, you can learn to harmonize your thoughts, beliefs, and actions with it, which will provide you a life of fulfillment, joy, profound inner peace, and limitless prosperity in each and every area of your life. What we choose to refer to as abundance and happiness. So you can see how this directly reflects back to some of the other laws that we've talked about. I deeply believe in universal principles running our personal and professional lives. I also believe that in order to run your life or business effectively and with peace of mind, you need to have some basic knowledge about these universal principles. This is from my own life. When I was younger, my husband left me and he left me for a man. I was the mother of 2 small children, and we were also business partners together. He served me with divorce papers and an injunction to not be able to do business under our joint business name on my birthday. He took every dime out of our bank account and left the state. I had literally 1 dime in my purse, and yes, he had cleaned out my wallet as well. It took me a while to see the positives, a very, very long while. But here there are some of them. There were many. I learned that my children come first, no matter what, and consequently, I was an excellent mother, even in times of crisis. I was very good at business and had an excellent business reputation and was able to build a bigger and better business due to this, along with my creativity. My confidence has never wavered since that time. I learned who my friends were, and they still are, 20 years later. It's actually more than like 30 years later now. I learned my mother really did love me, and she was someone who I could count on as a mother and a friend. That was extreme for me because of the way our relationship had transpired over the years. I learned compassion, even for people who were hurting me, and I learned what boundaries to look like to protect myself while still feeling that compassion. And the list really goes on and on. Would I have chosen this experience for myself? Get real. No. I'm very grateful, though, for the lessons and the growth of a person it afforded me to be. The first lesson was my attitude made all the difference in the world. At first, I was too busy surviving to feel sorry for myself. When things started to slow down and I could take a deep breath, I found that I didn't want to feel bad. I didn't want to feel sad. I didn't want to feel mad. And that I really liked myself and my life a lot. So how bad was the divorce and ruined business, really? The initial circumstance was horrible, but the benefits, I'm still seeing the benefits years later. So try this in your own life, whether personally or professionally. Keep in mind that for everything bad, there must be something good, and find it. Another way of looking at this is reframing. So remember, finding the seed in what sucks is the way to succeed. I don't know where we found that quote. So what I like to say is that everything is a lesson, and how I choose to demonstrate life, sometimes that lets me be the lessons for others. So what can you look at differently in your own life, and how is that going to change you? I hope you have a great day today. See you soon.